Welcome to the philosophy of piano by ear. This new introduction is actually my second introduction. When I began this project several years ago, I recorded parts 1 and 2. Little did I know that I would end up with a new part 1.1, a new part 1.2, and this brand new introduction. The difference is that having finished the entire program, the first 9 parts, I can look back and do some repairs in advance. I will try not to repeat much of part 1 except for one promise that I made. I promised to tell you the truth, and I will not stop doing that. The current program, without the new parts, consists of over 9 hours of mostly lectures with 3 goals. First, to provide you with every tool that I have used to successfully and professionally play the piano by ear for 65 years, and every tool that you will ever need to play by ear. Second, to make those tools as totally simple as possible, because simplicity will give you confidence in yourself, and nothing is more important than that. Third, to actually provide everyone with a complete alternative to traditional piano lessons from the very beginning to playing by ear. Traditional lessons go on for years, week after week, month after month, and they're expensive. And tragically, a huge percentage of those students quit. I'm going to guess 95%. Old and young both, they simply give up on the piano. I believe that anyone that passes the first 1-minute test in part 1 can learn to play by ear with this program, even if you know nothing about music or pianos. In fact, a virtuoso, that's music for expert, who cannot play by ear will probably have more trouble with this program than a true beginner, because a virtuoso will actually have to unlearn years of being trained to play by sight alone. Eyes on the music. But playing by ear means exactly that, playing by sound alone. With this program, I think that anyone over age 10 or so, if they really want to, can teach themselves to play by ear. I also believe that if you are a genuinely interested and dedicated parent, your 5 or 6-year-old can start learning to play the piano using only this program. If nothing else, it will take your child away from a digital screen for a few minutes every day and give you a chance to be involved in your child's life and learning. Almost everyone loves music. At the age of 81, I am living proof that once a person who loves music reaches the magic starting point of playing by ear, it will dramatically change their lives forever. I will explain the meaning of the phrase magic starting point in a few moments. I still play every day. I still play professionally. I still delight in entertaining people, playing the songs that they love. I still create every arrangement of every song that I play, and that single word, create, explains why it will change the life of everyone who plays by ear. You need to understand what playing by ear really means. It does not mean composing. I don't compose, I never have. Playing by ear begins with you hearing a song that you really enjoy. You would like to play it, and you'd like to play it on the piano because the piano is by far the most versatile musical instrument there is. If you read no music at all, you have a problem. It is extremely hard to learn most songs using only your ear. This program is designed to solve that problem by showing you how to read incredibly simple music. I have added the new part 1.1 and 1.2 to show you how to begin reading that simple music with no traditional piano lessons. The magic starting point of playing by ear is when you can play the melody of a song that you love, one note at a time, just with your right hand, and also play the most basic chords possible with your left hand. When you reach that point, and it's not years from now, probably a few months, you can begin creating your own arrangement of that song without any more music. You will be able to create something beautiful. And it will be beautiful because that arrangement will belong only to you. It really will be your creation. I was going to start this introduction with humor because laughter cures more aches and pains, physical and mental, than any pill that I know of. I wanted to hold up two wonderful creations by a fellow named John Stump and tell you that in this program you would never be asked to learn to read music any more complicated than these two examples. Unfortunately, humor, like truth, has taken a terrible beating since COVID-19, and I'm afraid that too many people would totally freak out at the sight of these examples and quit watching before I could even say the word joke. So now that you know that it's a joke, here are Mr. Stump's brilliant creations. This one is called Fairies' Air and Death Waltz. Wonderful creation. His second one is called Prelude and the Last Hope in C sharp minor. And here is that one. Now for the truth. Here is a true example of the hardest music that you will ever have to read in this program. This is the beginning of a well-known song. It's actually the first half of the entire song, Amazing Grace. I drew this digitally, meaning with my hands. This is as tough as it will get. And that's not very tough, especially if you looked at Mr. Stump's examples. There is no table of contents in this introduction or in part one, but there is a very brief synopsis of every part of the program at the beginning of each part. Here's what you will learn if you complete the program. In parts 1.1 and 1.2, the new ones, you will learn to make your fingers work on a piano keyboard by learning 6 major scales. That's called dexterity. As you learn those 6 scales, you will automatically learn to read extremely simple music, and you will also begin learning to play by ear, playing by only using sound. Starting in part 2, you will then learn to play simple melodies. Melodies are what identify songs for us. If the 6 scales still leave you struggling with sharps and flats, you may have to go back to parts 1.1 and 1.2 and learn the other 6 major scales. But that's all there is, 12 scales, and I had to invent the 12th one. Once you can handle simple melodies, and they are all played one note at a time, you will learn a grand total of 35 chords of the many hundreds of chords that are possible on the piano. Those 35 chords, and you will also learn them one note at a time, will enable you to play literally thousands of songs in the key of C. Here is one page that I am sure is used in other music programs. It's called 187 Basic Chords. And that's true. These are only basic chords. There are actually many, many hundreds of others not so basic chords. And that's what is shown to other people in other programs. In this program, here's the entire list of every chord that you will need to learn in order to play thousands of songs in the key of C. One reason that the program is so simple is because in the beginning, you will play every song that you want to learn in the key of C, the easiest key on the piano. You will never be required to play in any other key, but you can always try other keys when you are comfortable trying. You will then learn how to take any totally simple sheet music like Amazing Grace that I just showed you, and if it's not already in the key of C, you will learn how to put it in the key of C by transposing it. That means writing the notes and the chords for yourself on paper and put it into the key of C. Finally, I will show you how to reach the magic starting point only by listening to a simple song. Whether by reading simple music or listening to it, you will reach the magic starting point. Then I will show you how to turn that simple song into something that is beautiful because it will be yours alone. In addition to learning every tool that you will ever need to play by ear, here are two very important reasons why this program is worth your time and effort. First, this entire program is absolutely, positively free from beginning to end. You will never have to pay a dime for learning what it has taken me a lifetime to learn. If you ever saw the movie Pay It Forward, consider this my version of that movie. Let me repeat that. This program is free from beginning to end. If that's not enough reason, I honestly believe that this program can help anyone who speaks English and can type on a computer keyboard. Whatever your current skill level, or if you have no skill level at all, it won't matter, so long as you are not already dependent on written music. If you are, you will have to unlearn how to play only with your eyes. Here are the big mistakes that I made, particularly in parts 2 and 3. In both parts, I went way too fast for beginners. I also think I didn't have enough diagrams for beginners, and that no one could clearly see the details of the diagrams that I did use. Finally, I didn't go into nearly enough details explaining sharps and flats. I think that the new parts 1.1 and 1.2 solve all of those problems. When I first started part 1, I even assumed that everyone watching would already have a piano. That's a bad assumption. For those of you who don't have a piano, I offer these few but useful suggestions. Unless you are wealthy, buy a simple 88-key used acoustic piano. Acoustic means basically made out of wood and no electricity. Do not buy a grand piano. Simple means a spinet, which is the smallest, lowest, and lightest. A console is a bit taller and heavier, and an upright is by far the tallest and heaviest. But remember this, all three of them use the same exact amount of floor space. Do not buy a used piano from a dealer. In a private sale, the asking price for a usable piano could easily be less than $1,000. The operative words are shop around. When you think you're close to buying, find a reputable piano tuner and ask how much the tuner will charge you to do 5 things for you. 1, to inspect and play the piano. 2, to check that the pin block is still in good shape. 3, to tell you of any identifiable problems and the approximate cost of fixing them. 4, to give you the cost of moving the piano, if the tuner does that, and if not, anyone that he knows who can move it for you, unless you can move it yourself. And 5, to give you the cost of tuning the piano one time after it is in your home. You can also ask the seller if the seller's price is at least close to fair, but a tuner may not be willing to advise you on that. If necessary, shop around both for tuners and other pianos. The appearance of the piano is not important. If you prefer to or need to because of space, you can buy an electric piano. You can buy either new or used, but buy only from a dealer, and a dealer that has been in business for at least 10 years. You must be assured of 5 things. First, that it has a full keyboard of 88 keys. Second, and this is extremely important, the keys must be weighted so that it feels like piano, a real piano. That's essential. Third, it must have, or you must add, a music rack at seated eye level that is at least 28 inches wide, whether attached or separate. Fourth, it comes with a warranty of at least 1 year if it's new, and probably shorter if it's used. And fifth, and probably most important, the absolute assurance of the dealer that the dealership will provide quality service in the future on that exact make and model, regardless of its age. What I call bells and whistles, which are the different instruments and noises that electric pianos can produce, are not important so long as it feels and sounds like a real piano. If it has a speaker, it will have a built-in amplifier. It will include a jack for headphones for your privacy and for the sanity of others while you are learning. If headphones aren't included, you can buy them. Regardless, you will very likely pay well over $1,000 and possibly several $1,000s. Do not buy from a private seller under any circumstances, because there will be no warranty and no service, and both of those are total disasters. Part 2 has my other 2 big mistakes, and now I can warn you in advance. Somewhere in Part 2 I said that in order to learn the 12 major scales with your left hand, you would have to learn the bass clef, what I call the left hand staff. That was absolutely wrong. You will never have to learn the bass clef. To make my mistake even worse, you don't have to start out learning all 12 major scales, just the first 6 easiest ones. The 6 harder ones may not be necessary. So when you hear me talk about learning the bass clef and 12 major scales in Part 2, just ignore me. Write me off as dumbbell. I honestly don't know of any other big mistakes, just a few goofy ones, like Bach was really Beethoven, and the list of chords ended up as part 8.1, even though I had introduced the list in a much earlier part of the program. Whether you are a beginner or you already can read sheet music and play the piano, you should go straight from this introduction to Part 1. Watch all of it, because you must take and pass at least the first of 2 very quick and simple tests. The odds are overwhelming that you will pass the first test, because 95% of people are not tone deaf. If you fail it, you need to quit immediately, because you will never be able to play the piano by ear. You could still take traditional piano lessons and learn to read music, but you couldn't play by ear. If you pass the first test and flunk the second one, you should keep going with this program. Your lack of familiarity with the sounds of chords may be to blame, and not your ability to play by ear. So, after you finish Part 1, you will have choices. If you flunk the first test, you must quit. Even if you passed it, you need to seriously consider the extent of your commitment. There are a lot of steps in this program. Some of them are tedious, such as showing beginners how to learn the 6 major scales. But every step is truly simple. If you are not up to the commitment, you should quit. If you are a beginner and you pass the first test and are committed to playing the piano by ear, you must go directly from Part 1 to Part 1.1 and then Part 1.2. If you are an expert and you pass the first test, you need to watch roughly the middle 1/3 of Part 1.2. That is where I introduce beginners to playing the piano only by using their ears. Perhaps you will be able to invent your own method of unlearning the use of sheet music. I need to tell everyone how to approach this entire program. It dawned on me that I am in the same boat as a poorly trained public school teacher in 1890 In an old-fashioned one-room schoolhouse with 12 grades, one room, 2 kids in every grade, 24 kids at every conceivable skill level, from 0 to smarter than me. With that disturbing analogy in mind, here is my advice. Everyone should just watch the program in numerical order. If you already can read music, you can skip the new parts 1.1 and 1.2, but no one should skip a single part after that, beginning with part 1. Each time that you sit down to watch any part of the program, watch only for as many minutes as you can tolerate. Watch only until you can't handle any more details in that sitting. After you finish any session, even if you only spend a few minutes, evaluate it if you need to watch those minutes a second or even a third time. Watch each part as often as necessary, or minutes as often as necessary, until you are comfortable with everything in it. Since it is free, you can pause countless times for as long as necessary at any point in the program, including pauses so that you can draw your own diagrams, and there are several that you absolutely have to draw. If you are a beginner, watch parts 1.1 and 1.2 in the same way, and when you are comfortable with part 1.2, you should then go on to part 2 and the rest of the program. Everyone should feel free to repeat everything as often as necessary and to pause whenever necessary. Never go to a new part until you are comfortable. Most importantly, throughout this program, you can and you must set your own pace from beginning to end. The length of each part is totally unimportant. Your pace is entirely up to you. Now, everyone, regardless of your knowledge of pianos and music, should watch all of part 1. After that, you will need to decide what is best for you. Whatever your decision, I wish you the very best in life, and I thank you for making it through this introduction.